Stainer here from the Racing Life podcast. This is another edition of the Horses to Follow from the weekend just gone, and it's all about leading up to the spring festivals at Cheltenham, Aintree and Punchestown, trying to give you those ones to follow. Sometimes it's for the next coming weeks as well, so it is a worthwhile listen, I assure you. It's an analysis video this time. We're going to be talking about some of the action and how races were won from the weekend at Newbury, from Warwick, from Naas, and also one at Navan as well, which also has caught the eye, let's just say. Hope you enjoy the podcast series. Hope you enjoy it on YouTube, on all of our main devices that you may be able to find on Spotify, etc. TikTok. Go give us a follow if you're not already doing that. That's where the majority of our content comes from. And we will talk all things horses. Let's get stuck in. Well, Newbury didn't disappoint. The only thing disappointing was the conditions. It really was testing at Newbury, probably as testing as I can recall it in a number of years. It's normally a track that holds itself in terms of ground pretty well, but you know, the rain we've been having is been pretty catastrophic really for many courses who are losing their fixtures due to the just saturation on the track and the sitting water, etc. But Newbury's lucky in that respect, but you don't normally get it as heavy as I think it was at the weekend, and results pretty much produced the outcomes you would expect in that sort of ground. Anyway, I'm going to kick in. I want to talk about the first race, which was, let's call it a Supreme Novices Trial, because the horse in question, and you're going to see it on your screen now, Sober Glory, was absolutely relentless in this race. It went off, as you can see, at a really fast gallop, and it's what this horse kept back for the end of its race, which really impressed me. He's got gears, but he's uncomplicated. I think, personally, although I spoke to Johnson White straight after the race on Saturday, very briefly, my sort of put to him was that perhaps this horse is just one of those that's better going from the front, and he thinks that isn't the case, and you know, who am I to argue with those connections? But all of his victories have come that way. The one time he's been held up and they went a bit faster, it was at Sandown. Again, his excuses for that were given in terms of he just thinks that Sandown's such a specialist track. That's absolutely fair. All of those points are fair. But Sober Glory, as you can see, just powering away from good horses. Cadastrel, I can tell you, is a nice horse for the Skeltons. There will be days in that horse. I'm not sure he's quite supreme level, but be quite interested for handicaps. I think maybe Aintree, I could see this one as a nice handicapper there later on in the season. And the horse in third, which I know the connections of, were delighted with their run. You know, up against some really smart horses there, and did clatter two out, but was booked for third from a long way out. But a good run all the same. But it's Sober Glory you've got to be interested in. Now, Supreme Novices Hurdle is going to be an interesting race. Now, I've been trying to analyse this race from a pace angle point of view, and I do think that they'd be stupid not to run Sober Glory going either from the front or be as handy as he can be, going at a pace he's comfortable with. The problem with that is there's two or three others in the race, including the favourite Old Park Star, who are going to want to do something very, very similar in the race. You just wonder whether this Supreme might be set up for a held-up individual if there were to be such a breakneck pace and they went from the front. It could be that Old Park Star or Sober Glory are just miles ahead of the Irish lads, but they're two really good, interesting runners for the race, both of them. But Sober Glory is a much bigger price, and he will be uncomplicated come the race. I know he got beaten at Sandown, but like I've said, Johnson White gave his excuses. That horse didn't like the track, according to his trainer. And I just find myself feeling that he's overpriced still in the Supreme. And if you wanted to have a bet each way, he is uncomplicated. He will go from the front, I think, or very handy at least. And it will take a good one to outstay him. And if it turned up heavy, the most important thing, he would not be the price he is now. I can assure you, absolutely guarantee that on every level that this horse will be much shorter than what it is for this particular race. So, if you like Sober Glory, you like what he done in these videos, go and back it for the Supreme. For me, I'm just going to keep an eye on the weather. A week or so before, if I don't see a turn in the conditions, I might just have a prod. All day long at Newbury, horses were winning from the front. But there was a horse that was different to that on the day, and you probably, as a result, can maybe frank up the form. And it's very interesting to find out where this horse goes next. He's trained by Dan Skelton, ridden by Harry Skelton. The horse is called Épée de Nom. I think this is quite a nice handicapper. He's progressed very nicely through the ranks and not been hammered every time he's done it. He's stepped up to 3 miles this day. I think he probably does stay 3 miles, but also I think he's a strong enough traveller to come off something like a 2.5 mile pace. Now, it's quite interesting to hear his trainer nominate the Martin Pipe to us at the track, and to everybody else as well, by the way, as the likely destination for this one at the Cheltenham Festival. Look, if you look in this video, he travelled so easily. Harry was fully in control of this race, and for me, never looked like not winning. But the fact that he's come from the back and the whole field was completely spread out across Newbury probably means you can mark this up. I hope the handicapper isn't too harsh with the Épée de Nom, because if I'm honest with you, if he gets into the Martin Pipe, he could be fascinating for connections that just know what they're doing. He's probably had a hard enough race, but not known he's had a hard enough race, if you know what I mean. As you can see, the way he does travel is encouraging for a race of that nature, because they will go fast. I think Épée de Nom for the Martin Pipe is fascinating, and I am not going to argue with a master trainer like Dan Skelton. He's one to follow. Well, last week at the DRF, I was absolutely gutted not to see Haiti Colours there. Not because I think that Haiti Colours is a guaranteed hot pot in any particular race it turns up in, but mainly because I thought that the Irish Gold Cup lacked a bit of pace, and as it turned out, I was pretty right. But you might say it would never have beaten Fact to File, but I thought that from the front, Haiti Colours might get a soft enough lead, and he could wind that up and make it a real staying test of stamina. And the fact that Fact to File has won the race probably suggests, and given that he's looked not a non-stayer, but one who's got frailties when he's under pressure for sure, I think I was right. And look, what Haiti Colours done in the Denman Chase this week is probably what we all expected it to do. What I will say is I did get some of my anti-post dosh back, because I thought it was an outstanding price. Managed to nick a bit of evens, which was pretty incredible. Look, he's put L'Empresse to the sword pretty easily. L'Empresse had a reasonably hard enough race in the Cotswold Chase a few weeks back at Cheltenham, so you could argue that maybe he was the fresher horse, but that's no gimme shouldering somewhere near top weight in a Welsh Grand National. There are horses in the past, you'll know. I looked through the Roll Call of Honour. He does remind me of Native River, this horse. I think he's got stamina in abundance. He's got plenty of reserves. He likes to be handy, or likes to go from the front. His jumping is very good. He's very straight. He's very accurate. He doesn't very often miss one. And Rebecca Curtis has got a lively Gold Cup contender on her hands. This was a decent price a long time ago. I thought he's one of the outsiders to take seriously in what looks the most open Gold Cup in years and years and years. But let's talk about his race, because as you can see in the video that we're rolling here, again, he's jumping very nicely. He's going from fence to fence. He's never really out of control or under the cosh. He's always got the measure of L'Empresse. At one stage, I thought Leave of Absence might find itself kind of coming there and looming, go past, but always the quality of Haiti Colours I thought would shine through, and so it proved. And Sean Bowen loves this horse. He's given it an absolute peach of a ride. You can see as he pops the last, he's still full of running. He's going away from them. He is just about stamina. And I think the Gold Cup is a stamina test of all tests. I think it's a bigger test than a Welsh Grand National in terms of stamina, because they go that much faster. He could get a lead in the Gold Cup. I don't see what's going to sort of take him on and hurry him along out of his comfort zone. I think he could have a soft lead in the Gold Cup. And if it turned into that stamina test and it was grueling, I don't think this one would be backing away. So if you like Haiti Colours, the Gold Cup, and you're on a nice voucher, well done. Do I think 7-8 to 1 is the right price now? Still probably not. I would like to see more like 10s and 12s. I think is the right price. But Haiti Colours, a horse to follow. keep him in mind for this year's Gold Cup. Were you impressed with Lalamba or a little bit underwhelmed by his performance? Now, I've heard quite an interesting number of cases from different people who are saying that won't win an Arkle, that won't do this, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. And I think I'm going to try and pick this apart a little bit and try and give a little bit more context to it from my perspective, my thoughts, my views, my opinions. First and foremost, this trial is normally a champion chase trial, not a Arkle trial, although a couple of horses over the years have come in here. Now, Lalamba shouldered a small penalty for winning his Grade 1 race earlier on in the season. I think it was the Henry VIII chase at Sandown who got that fall. And people are saying that he's looked like he lacked a bit of pace and he's not very quick and he comes off the bridle. Now, let's watch this video, because what does coming off the bridle really mean to a number of people? For me, when I'm watching a horse go through a race, I don't actually mind when the jockey every now and again gives it a little squeeze just to keep his mind on the task at hand, really. And I think that's more what Nico is doing. He's not slow. He is not a slow horse. You can see, again, the way he jumps. He's very strong to his fences. He's very aggressive. He attacks them. Yes, he's probably hit one or two throughout his career, but that's why Nicky ran Lalamba in this race, remember. It was for experience. He didn't need to run Lalamba in this race, but I think he thinks experience might win the day in the Arkle. And actually, he's got good form for it, because last season, Django Bay won the Arkle coming off a incredibly fast pace and finishing the strongest of them all. You could probably argue he's a lucky winner of that, given Majborough's mistake. But again, Lalamba, the way he just looms up and he travels through his race. He travelled through his Triumph Hurdle as a very good horse. He is still very young, so he's got plenty of time on his side. But this young horse in against these experienced campaigners, the likes of Calico and Liberty Hunter and Master Chewy, they're proper horses, by the way. They are Grade 2 horses, but they're proper horses. And they were put to the sword quite comfortably by Lalamba, who's got plenty of years on them, so he's got plenty of time to improve further. The horses that have been beating those horses I've just mentioned there earlier on in the season, equally Saint Segal as well, are very, very good horses. They're the best in the 2 mile division in open company. So Lalamba in his novice campaign doing that, I think, is really impressive. And to me, he will win the Arkle. I think they will go really fast in it, and you can even stick Kopek to boards in that. He's not got enough experience for my liking. He's a little bit of a nutcase in his own right anyway, and I would be thinking of him doing something similar to Majborough last year. Do I think Kopek to boards in the long run could go on and be the better of the two? There's every chance he could be, but right now, the experience and the knowledge of Lalamba, and also the know-how of Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville from last year's Arkle to be sat in the right place. I would say I wouldn't want him to be as far back as Django Bay was, but I do think Lalamba is a really good player in the Arkle now, and you can chuck your Kopek de boards or your Romeo Coolios to me. Romeo Coolio, they'll go a bit too fast for it, is my opinion. Kopek de boards has got it all to prove, given he's going to go to Cheltenham with just one novice chase run. And also, he's a bit of a nutcase. Lalamba is experienced with the head and the knowledge. He is the one for the Arkle now. And the only other one I'll talk about in another video in a minute. One of the most competitive handicaps of the season, well, it was supposed to be, was absolutely blown apart by Paul Nicholls' Tutti Quanti at the weekend. Now, on one of our podcasts, Zach from Hoof and Hustle gave this as his handicapper to follow for the season. I wasn't expecting him to win this off top weight, but let's talk about and look how he done it. Well, first and foremost, it's very evident to me that ground is very key to this horse. I can see that soft or heavy ground and the way that he was able to travel in it was really very much to his potential liking, and also going forward, the kind of way that Paul might place this horse, you would have to take that seriously. Now, he went into the race shouldering top weight off a mark of 138. I've looked at what he's done in the race, and you can see it in this video. He's jumped really nicely. He's travelled nicely. He's picked up. He's won this so easily that the handicapper has to give him a minimum of £10. And that will put him on a mark of 148. Now, 148 would be still some way short of champion hurdle class, but if the ground turned up soft or heavy, as you can see the way he's sluicing through and travelling through the ground here in this video, is that you would think ratings can be chucked out the window, because he will be one that will absolutely love it. Now, Brighter Days Ahead has gone and won on bad ground recently against Lossiemouth, but I think actually the whole field disliked the ground, so she's not really raced against anything that's loved the ground. Now, this season's champion hurdle is very open, and it's got that feel to it that anything can happen. Last year, although anything did happen, it was a crazy race. Golden Ace managed to pick it up. I didn't go into the race thinking that could happen. This year I do. I do think it's very open. So if Paul is interested in Tutti Quanti running in the race, you would not think he's a madman for doing it, for sure. And this was just a taking performance, a breathtaking performance in many ways. One that I will remember for a number of years, because I was there at Newbury and it was quite a quiet, although not many people seemed to back it. It was short in the market, but it was quite a quiet response to a Newbury winner in a handicap of that nature, of a race of that nature. I think he's going to need a little bit of a break, because that would have taken something out of him, even though he looks like he's won easily on the bridle. That does sometimes take it out of horses, even doing it that way. He was very keen throughout the race as well. But from the front again, no surprises. Most of them did at Newbury. Tutti Quanti was very, very good. Is he a lively contender for the champion hurdle? And if it's soft or heavy, you cannot dismiss this one. I mentioned that there was a second Arkle trial this weekend, further in the video, and it's a good trial, because the race, the Kingmaker at Warwick, is often won by quite a smart horse. Last season, I believe it was Loda Sud who took the spoils in this one, and went on to run a really good race in the Arkle. So it is a race to take seriously. Let's talk about it, and let's go through it with a little bit of my views again around about how the race has panned out, because there was a disappointment in it, but there was also a very, very good performance from a Sam Thomas horse who has to be taken seriously, I think. First of all, let's start with Mambo number 5, because in this video you'll see there's 5 fences down the back at Warwick where they come in about 2.5, 3 furlongs of time, which is not a lot for a horse who probably is more of a travel into the race type of horse. I'm not saying Mambo's number 5's jumping is poor by any means. He's normally a very assured jumper, but he didn't quite get over a couple of these in the manner that the front two did. So therefore they started to get away from him. And as the race progressed, as you can see, Ben kind of knew his fate and decided to sort of let him come home in his own time. I think that was the right thing to do. There'll be bigger days. Will he be in the mix for the Arkle? I think quite a few people think that he can go better. I think Cheltenham will probably suit him a little bit better. There are a few quick fences at Cheltenham, but they're normally after a turn, so he can get back settled. And I think that Cheltenham would suit him better. I think Mambo number 5 has hated Warwick, and I'd be surprised if he runs there again, certainly over that trip anyway. Mirabad's run a good race in second, and it's interesting to know what they're going to do with that, because he seems to run his race every time. So I don't think he's got any pounds he's hiding from the handicapper for sure. But the winner, Steel Ally for Sam Thomas. What an amazing job Sam Thomas is doing. And he's got an amazing job anyway, because he trains for one trainer pretty much now, pretty exclusively. One owner, sorry. And he is got great firepower. They're all nice horses, and they all seem to be doing their thing. So I want to just talk about the way this has done, this Steel Ally. Now, I think it was fascinating after I've seen a video of Sam Thomas talking about how he thought that it was important in the race that the two up front didn't take each other on and cut each other's throat, so to speak, from the front and set it up for Mambo number 5. He was sure to just be making sure his horse went at the pace he was comfortable with, and then trying to assert when those fences come down the far side. Now, he clearly gets on with the bad ground and soft ground and heavy ground, but his jumping is an asset. He just does jump very fast and true, and I was really impressed with the way he done this. He never looked like not winning the race from about 4 out, and I think as soon as he pinged 4 out, I thought, Mambo's done, and Steel Ally is going to bolt up here, and that's exactly what it proved. It was a 3-runner race, so yes, many will say we've not really learnt a great deal, but I think we have learnt a great deal. I think the horses have gone really well. It was heavy ground. The time was half decent. 4 minutes, 3 seconds over 2 miles on heavy ground is a reasonable time. It's been a proper race because of the pace of it. And I think that if you like Steel Ally for the Arkle, I would not put you off. It wouldn't be the biggest shock to me if he didn't run in the race, I have to say, because I do think that if the ground come up a little bit better, that actually they might try and go up in trip maybe. Maybe he could be a Jack Richards typo, I don't know. But he's definitely brilliant and smart, and he's nice, and he's got everything that he needs as a nice racehorse. And I think that alone represents him as a horse to follow for the future. And I don't want you to give up on Mamba number 5 if you're a big fan. He hasn't liked Cheltenham. At Warwick, he will like Cheltenham better. He's probably going to be about 50-1 shot for the Arkle. And you know what? I think La Lamba's going to win the Arkle, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mamba ran a good race. So there's my views. There's my thoughts on the Kingmaker from the weekend. The other race from Warwick is the Jane Seymour. I want to discuss this race because I thought it was a good race, to be fair, and I liked the attitude of Kingston Queen, who I think is a much better horse over a slightly further trip. 2 miles is probably just a bit too sharp for her. I'm sure they're probably going to take their chance at Cheltenham again in the Mares Novices race. But I think they should be waiting personally because, and I hope they do, because I just think that she is got a nice engine about her. She's actually got some decent form. She blew up the last day over 2 miles, and that was never what she wants, as I said. But back over this sort of staying trip, she looked like she was going to get beaten by a really good horse in White Noise, who equally has run a brilliant race for Kim Bailey, Matt Nichols, and Tom Bellamy give that a picture a ride as well. But the one to mark up is A Path to Ronda, really, because A Path to Ronda was kept wide, probably trying to get a little bit of better ground, and at the back of the field. So she's come with a right old rattling finish. Between 2 out and the last, there was a moment where you thought, hang on a minute, she is flying. She might just get there for Jamie and his team. It didn't quite happen, but she was only beaten 2 lengths. So I think what I want to say to you is about the Jane Seymour this year is I think there's a lot of horses in there to follow going forward. Will they be Cheltenham Festival winning horses? I'm not sure. I'm not convinced, because I think Kingston Queen wants 2.5 and the Mares Novice is over 2. White Noise probably wants 2.5 as well. Could go back to 2 miles though. She wouldn't be that inconvenienced by that. A Path to Ronda probably wants 2.5 miles on better ground. So good horses, all 3 of them worth following, and I thought that this was a really good finish. The first race at Naas on Saturday was a race that we showed a lot of interest in. I think Highland Crystal is quite a smart filly, and I think that she is to be taken seriously at the Cheltenham Festival, potentially. She's just got that lovely finishing kick to her. She tries really hard. There was a moment on Saturday where, as you see in this video, you kind of like, she's going to get beat here, and then she really knuckles down and wins by 3/4 of a length, going away again at the end. The horse in second, Saratoga, would have to interest you. Padraig Roach wouldn't have a lot of runners, but we know he's capable of winning this race at the Cheltenham Festival. He's done it before. So those JP McManus colours always appeal, potentially in the Boodles handicap, the Fred Winter, whatever it's called these days. But Saratoga could be interested in that. And Highland Crystal, potentially for the Triumph Hurdle, potentially for the Mares Hurdle. She's got to be a fascinating one. She stays well. She's strong. She probably isn't the quickest in the world, so she would want a decent enough pace at Cheltenham so she can come off that. But I think she's very good, and I think that she could easily feature in that big race at the festival. I think Dino Blue could end up being a lot of people's banker at the festival, and you can see why. She is very consistent. She is, as someone put to me in Ireland recently when I was at the DRF, she's just the best mare in training right now. And you could take that with a pinch of salt, or you can say, absolutely, you are correct. Well, she is ultra consistent, and I think that she's had to barely break sweat to win this race. Bioluminescence is a nice horse, but running over 2 miles was a bit of a shock to see, but I think they're handicapping that for something. So keep an eye on that. If we're talking horses to follow, definitely one to keep an eye on. But Dino Blue's main threat dropped out the race early doors and left it with a bit of a penalty kick to go and win. She done it as easily as you can imagine and sets her up for the festival. I'm not sure if she's banking material, but I know a lot of you do think she is. She's going to be bang there, that's for sure. And come the day, if Willie's already had 3 or 4 on Gold Cup Day, which is, we've seen it a few times before, it wouldn't be the biggest shock if she went off a fair odds on. Maybe one of the few odds on shots at the festival you might see. But yeah, Dino Blue, she's just very good. 2 miles over fences. She's becoming bomb-proof. The Fox Hunters at the festival isn't everyone's idea of a race to be very excited about, it has to be said. But there was an interesting race at Naas on Saturday for this race in particular. Now, it's interesting to see that the Gleesons have purchased Panda Boy, and it's in training with Martin Brazil still, which is a very positive thing. Panda Boy has been a reasonably good handicapper over the years, and I think this is quite an interesting purchase for the Gleesons. And Jonathan will ride. It's a 10-year-old, so he's going to be a point-to-pointer to follow maybe for the future, full stop under that particular code. And they've now gone and mopped up and won a nice hunter chase over in Ireland, beating a really good horse, former Willie Mullins horse, Hunter's Yarn, who's been kept in the double green of Suede and Mania. So that's a fascinating one in itself. I think the Gleeson horse and Martin Brazil horse will be quite well punted at the Cheltenham Festival. Wouldn't be a big surprise to me now if he goes off favourite for the race, because I could see that being a very good play in the race for many people on the day. Yes, there'll be a Mullins Hot Pot. Yes, there'll be lots of others. You've got Wonderwall and lots of horses that have produced in that sort of sphere for quite a long time. But the younger legs and the interesting purchases from rules into point-to-point and hunter chases, they always fascinate me. And this one could be one that just gets the job done in March. At last week's Dublin Racing Festival, Final Demand let many down with his performance in that Grade 1 chase. But it has opened the race up, and there was a horse that ran yesterday for a really small trainer who's got just a few horses, owned by JP McManus, called Oscar's Brother, and I think he's chucked his hat in the ring. He's rated 148, which means that he's clearly a very capable chaser. Before he went into this, he's now won a Grade 2 with Daniel King riding. I assume that would be part of the contract, is that retained, because JP McManus has purchased this horse. He done it very nicely. He's a very good jumper, very good out of that ground as well, which is something that it could well be. I keep saying this, it could well be a soft ground festival. We might start on soft. The rain that's falling and forecasted for the foreseeable future is significant, so we've got to keep an eye on that and bear that in mind. And this horse has just a really nice attitude, and you would be mad to dismiss him at this stage. Cade Doty, also owned by JP McManus, will probably run the race given what he's done to Final Demand now. But this one would be more of interest to me. I think Cade Doty might get outpaced in a race at Cheltenham. Oscar's Brother, on the other hand, looks a proper natural. I like him a lot. Now, second in the race was the Wall Park, so you have to talk about this horse because he was a rattling fast finishing second. He is a good horse. He was rated 155 over fences. He's only rated 143 or 148, sorry, I think it was before yesterday. He's going to go up a few pounds for that. And it would be interesting to me whereabouts he goes. I'm hearing National Hunt Chase, but he'd be appealing if he turned up in the Kim Muir or the Ultima even. But the National Hunt Chase, the way he stayed from the back of the last there was fairly eye-catching, and I think you'd need to be borderline Stevie Wonder to have missed that one, to be honest. And there we go. I can really see this one being a fascinating runner at the Cheltenham Festival as well. But two horses at the same race, do not ignore, they're both very, very good. Naturally, there's lots of races we could talk about. There was others, including Hollygrove Cha-Cha for Jamie Snowden, who ran a brilliant race and tactically just completely destroyed the opposition. There was Holloway Queen at Newbury, who impressed us quite a bit. The Bumper Horse for another small trainer up north, come down with Brian Hughes, rode it. There was lots of interesting runners from Saturday, and as I say, these are about us giving you angles, horses to follow, a little bit of our analysis as to why things have happened, why they might be worth following, why they might be worth avoiding, etc., going forward. And we do hope you enjoy our podcast series, our content that we put out there. If you like these, then please do go follow us on all our platforms. We've got TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You can go, even X as well, to be fair, but we don't post that much on there. But listen, go and give us a follow if you can on those. We'd be very grateful. We also have a Cheltenham Festival preview with an incredible panel, which includes Ollie Murphy, Jamie Snowden, myself, Tom Drinkwater, and we've also got a sponsor for the evening who will be giving you plenty of free bets on the night. So it's well worth joining. You get fed and you get your first drink free, all for 35 quid, all in on the Friday, the 6th of March, just before the Cheltenham Festival. You'd be mad to miss it. Tickets still available, but they won't be there for long. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, we find you a few clues and winners for the future. Thank you.